Okay, we should be live very soon here. Good morning, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Practice Cursive. Thank you so much for joining me today. We will be working on the left hand as it is a Monday. Every Monday and Wednesday we practice penmanship with the left hand, and every Tuesday and Thursday we focus on the right hand, and Friday we just have fun with special topics. We'll do things like name requests or whatever we feel like doing on a Friday, related to penmanship at least. So if this is your first time here, my name is Diego Irigoyen. If you're watching this live, welcome. Thank you for joining us live. If you are watching this in the playback, thank you so much for choosing to click on this 1 hour long video. I understand that kind of timestamp can be extremely intimidating for people, but the whole idea behind this series is that you pull out a pen and paper and practice along with me. And if you're watching this live, you can ask questions as we go, and that way we could potentially learn through each other. So I'm just going to jump into some left-handed penmanship here today. So I'm going to try not to delay too long on any of that. Try not to talk too much. But if you have questions, feel free to ask them. Okay. So one thing that I focus on in my penmanship is using whole arm movement. Oh, and I'm almost going to forget. Play some music for you guys. This way you can enjoy the tunes while I write. Last week we ended off on drills number 5 with the letter A. And so today we were potentially going to work on drill number 6. And this book here is the Palmer Method of Business Writing. If you're not familiar with whole arm writing, it involves using the larger muscles of the arm and shoulder as well as the back. And you do not use the fingers other than to hold the pen. And in that way you can write for longer. You could potentially write more consistently once you've developed the muscle memory. And you can also write more quickly. I believe it was yesterday or the day before I did an experiment where I was actually writing with finger movement and I was printing. And I found that after a short amount of time, 10-20 minutes, I was no longer able to write easily. My fingers had already fatigued, and I had to switch over to using whole arm movement in order to continue writing what I was writing. So that was proof to me that whole arm movement does indeed have a great practical value. So if you're a student and you need to take notes in the classroom, whole arm movement is an excellent skill to develop in regards to handwriting. It's going to allow you to write for longer periods of time, and it's also going to allow you to enjoy your writing experience a little bit more. I am no longer in school, so luckily I don't have to take notes for school, but I do a lot of writing for my own enjoyment. I also find that handwriting is a great way to work on your ability as a public orator. This way you can speak publicly and articulate your ideas more clearly. I was a teacher for a few years after I graduated from college, and handwriting was an excellent way to prepare for my lessons and my lectures. So this exercise that I'm doing here is just warming up the muscles. I'm naturally a right-handed individual, so So whenever I write with the left hand, it does take a moment for me to warm up and get right into it. I've actually been writing with the left hand for over 7 years, and I typically write in mirror image. I'll give you an example. That's an example of my left-handed mirror image writing. But for the purpose of this series, I've been working on my left-handed forward penmanship so that those who are left-handed could have an example to potentially learn from if they're interested in whole arm movement. Or it's also known as muscular movement in writing. So today we were going to work on the capital letter A a little bit. One thing that I think is interesting about the letter A is where it's coming from in the oval. Let's see if we can do multiples here. How fat that A is. One thing that is important in whole arm movement is you need to be able to do it with a little bit of speed. That's kind of what creates that dashy aesthetic in your writing. So how was everyone's weekend? If you had a good weekend, you can make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Let me know that you enjoyed your weekend. If you had a horrible weekend, you can go ahead and hit that thumbs down button. Let me know that you had a bad weekend. And if you're watching this live, you can go ahead and tell me about your weekend in the chat. So such a moment arises, I can tell you a little bit about my weekend. For those who have been following me for a little while, might know that I'm primarily a fine artist. And so this weekend I actually had the closing reception for a show. And the work that I presented in that show was actually a performance. And so in order to see the work completed, you need to see it live. And I need to be there performing it. And so this time I offered around a free foot washes. Yes. If you're kind of confused right now, you did hear that correctly, a free foot wash. And the catch was that you only got the first foot free. And in order to get the second foot washed, you had to exchange money for it. And by a stroke of luck, it just happened that HBO was in the area filming for a documentary related to all of the great American cities that were once very iconic here in the United States, but have now degraded into a state of poverty or other mishaps. And so the city that the gallery was in happened to be one of those cities, and so HBO was filming, and they came into the gallery and interviewed the gallery director as I was in the background washing people's feet. So in a couple years, maybe even less, a year's time or so, you may see me in an HBO documentary washing people's feet. So keep an eye out for that. I believe the documentary would be called Our Nation, and it's about great cities of America that have become impoverished. Well, I quite like this A right here. It's a good A. So one thing that I'm doing here is as I'm exiting the stroke of the letter A, I'm trying to, my paper must be too low. I'm trying to follow this curve that you see in these upper A's. So come around, lift the pen as you exit the letter, but follow this stroke around into the next letter A. And that way you can generate some speed as you do it, but also keep the form correct. It's very difficult. I have some good A's though, like this one's kind of good, a little shaky. I like these two as well. One thing I'm noticing different between my A's and the A's shown in the exemplar here is that these are much more narrow in their shape. So if I could narrow up my A's. They're also much larger in that book, but I want to work at a practical size and become accustomed to writing at this smaller size that fits in a college ruled line. Try to increase the size now. That's a good one, I like that A. Not bad, they're getting better. Okay. Some more paper I haven't gone through. Okay. I have this tendency to want to cover every inch of every single paper. Don't want to leave anything uncovered. I've been getting a little better at letting it go and not trying to fill every crevice of every single paper. Just throw it away. We don't need it. Still having trouble with this stroke right here. Alrighty. If you got any A words, any words that begin with the letter A, you can go ahead and share them, and I will write them. This channel is a stress reliever. So grateful to hear that. Thank you, Sonu. It's very kind of you to say. Make sure you all have a good view of what I am doing. Nope, I dotted the wrong part. I learned so much from writing with the left hand. It really teaches me to move more slowly. Because it takes so much focus. It really causes me to slow down. My 8s are getting pretty good. Have to say, all my lowercase letters are still subpar, but capital A's, I can feel them improving quite a bit. This is a great exercise in building your vocabulary as well. If you're interested in expanding your usable vocabulary, definitely try this out. Nothing hurts you about more colorful expression. Out of room. Let's pull out another sheet. Another sheet I have not finished covering, so we'll just do the back side of this one here. Take a little stretcher.
No one had a run like Grimes. No one.
One thing that can happen, especially if you're not naturally a left-hander, is you can allow yourself to tense up over time. And so it's important to be aware of that and to relax your grip. There's no need to squeeze the pen, you're just holding the pen. I understand that not everyone's going to fully adopt the ambidextrous philosophy, but if you do choose to, that's one piece of advice that I could give you. There's no need to squeeze the pen whatsoever. Alright, so the last word we worked on was anniversary. We'll continue working with the ball pen. Let's see how many A's we can do in a row that match their own aesthetic. Okay, taking a look at this top row. I mean, that first day is pretty good. Happy with that one. Things get a little shaky in here. To be expected, the left hand is still rather infantile in its development. This one's quite nice. The exit stroke's a little sloppy. I want to say that this one's another one I like as well. Nice round curve. Looks like it was done with enough momentum. See this next row here. This one's kind of similar, a little sharper curve. Nice and round. I like this one. A little shaky on the exit. Looks like my slants are becoming a little bit more dramatic in this one. Too dramatic. Way too dramatic. This one's a little better. I like this one. Things are a little shaky here closing. And then here we failed. I make myself warm water every morning and I forget to finish it. It's not hot anymore, unfortunately. At a little higher pace. Only really the first one came out. I noticed this also with my right hand, that the first day will often tend to be the best in a series of A's. And then after that, the quality will slightly decline. I'm not sure you can see these through the writing on the other side. Switch over to the fountain pen. Hopefully there's enough ink in here. Clean the section before I end up with ink on my hands. It's inevitable. I always get ink on my hands. I'm not quite sure where it comes from. Okay. The only thing that I have trouble with on this paper, and fountain pen ink in particular, is that I will often find where I've touched the paper, the oil from my skin will slowly transfer onto the paper, and that will result in the ink rejecting the paper. It doesn't want to sit or dry onto the paper. Okay. I also find that the fountain pen's fine point allows for a little bit more mistakes to show, which can be helpful. See, look at the first day, it always comes out quite nice. This one's a little too open here, I think. So it doesn't, goes over the top of the line there. A little abrupt on the curvature. slant on this is more dramatic than I would like. Looking something more like this round. These aren't horrible A's though. This is a horrible A right here. I think the first A might still be the best, but you can see how the slant here is a little bit more dramatic than what's going on up there. This one's actually pretty good right here. See, and something that is pretty distinctive of the A is this curvature, and then it's a nice smooth transition into a straight line, where this one, it's kind of like rounding around all the way through rather than transitioning to that straight line up. See, you can see it too with this one, like it's just way too big of a curve. It makes it look weird. Here's another one. Another one. This one's pretty good. I really focused on the movement doing this one. It's a little more slanted than I might like, but I could definitely live with that A. I like this. Okay, folks, this is going to be the end of the stream. We're going to be closing off with this page. Have no animosity for the end of this stream. Gotta finish up this paper though. Feel as if we made good progress on the letter A today. Awesome. And you are all awesome for joining me. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I hope that you may be inspired to develop your own handwriting as well. It has brought me many benefits to re-embrace handwriting into my life. And I hope that you may experience some of the same sort of benefits that I did. All right. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in today. This will be the end of the stream. We will be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so, hope to catch you then if we didn't catch you today. Thank you all so much. Take care.